How you doing, guys? Zera here. So today I definitely wanted to share my thoughts on this new gameplay from Game Informer on YouTube on Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now I want to say, guys, that this remake, in terms of its gameplay presentation in here, I have to say that this may be the biggest step up in terms of the remakes that we have seen. Let me just clarify that a little bit. As an example, one of the few games that came out that had already had an original that third-person perspective, such as the newly released Dead Space, right? We have seen original game with a third-person perspective already implemented. Then we finally got the game as a remake, and basically you would not expect too many big step-ups. And my point being that this Resident Evil 4 perhaps is the biggest remake that they have done. Now again, I'm talking about specifically that the original game had already implemented a third-person perspective, and it's definitely nice to see more of a modern touch towards this gaming that people love and people can expect. And as such, when Capcom has finally showcased this gameplay, or at least given approval to Game Informer to show off this gameplay, and for the first time when I was checking it out, and for the first time I was just looking at it and seeing, I gotta say, man, this looks really, really good. I want to say as well that I like the changes that they've made in terms of being that this game is a lot more darker in tone, and also because visually it does seem a lot more dark. But it's not necessarily to say that you would expect it's being like a pure horror aspect, because that's just not that. It's actually more on action-based side, but I think that's a merit, because Resident Evil 4 Original was more of an action game. It definitely was. Not to say that it didn't have horror elements, it definitely did. But I think that, Resident Evil 4, the original, obviously was more action-based. And same thing seems like it's going to be going on here as well. I like the way that they have showcased plenty of new things, like for example a map details, where you can go, where to, in perspective where you will be able to explore. I like the way this is, I think this is a new feature. Maybe it's been, I haven't played Resident Evil for a little bit of a while, actually. Last one I played was Village, but again that was a few years ago already. And as such, checking out that Ashley is actually your companion, like will be walking with you. And there's also been a little bit of, I don't know if it's a controversy, basically like Ashley, she's not going to be hiding any longer in those dumpsters. But again, I think it's a good thing, because that would be kind of weird. Imagine, right? Nowadays and age, and seeing an Ashley, right, a woman basically going into the dumpster just to hide. Again, you should not really think this game as more of a kind of just a game, right? You should have to experience this as an experience, not just like a little video game. And that's why I think it's a lot more realistic having that Ashley does not go in the dumpster just so that she could hide. And I want to say the negative, guys. Man, I'm bothered by it, and I hope Capcom changes this for real. They definitely need to. It's the rain physics. It's just like milk literally coming down. It's not rain. It's so white. It's so thick. It's a mess. I kind of get the idea of what they were striving to go for in here, feeling a lot more mystique, a little bit more difficult to check out and see the visuals of the fidelity in terms of the how far you can see, and the rain does that for sure. But again, I think it's actually a detriment. I think that it doesn't look as good. I think that they need to work on this, dim down the rain or something, because it's too milky, it's too white, it's like full of fucking cum coming out of the sky. It's ridiculous. It reminds me of Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy Definitive Edition. And you remember those rain physics? Damn. And this is no different, unfortunately, even though it does look better here, because obviously the rain, you can clearly see that it's been dropped right on Leon, on top of his shoulders, his back and stuff like that, and you can see the driplets. It's nice, it does look very good, it looks like a proper physics rain. But again, I think they need to have a lot more transparent in terms of the rain drops themselves on the screen. And also with the first, basically presentation or kind of introduction, right, towards the merchant as well. It's nice to see how they are actually, keeping it true towards the original and bringing it back here, but also having a little bit of a spin of a modernized gaming in here. I like that, because this only kind of gives me a reason to get this game for real. Because why I'm even saying this, right? I have to clarify this, because actually when I first time heard about this thing, that this game will be coming out, the remake of Resident Evil 4, I didn't really think much of it, right? Like, I haven't really even talked about it, to be honest with you. But after checking out this gameplay, I'm far more now convinced of picking this game day one, because initially I actually never picked up Resident Evil Village on day one. I waited like a few months, and then afterwards I decided to pick it up. But in this case, for Resident Evil 4, I decided to do the same thing. I decided to wait and then pick it up a few months later. But now, I'm considering getting this game day one. I loved everything in here, because mainly I love the third-person perspective far more than the first-person perspective. Resident Evil 4 as well, the original, obviously, was like one of the best, if not the best, Resident Evil games of all time. And of course, that's just like, being made of a remake, that's just like, yes please, you know what I mean? Like, especially with the recent success of Dead Space, and then being remade and actually being, once again, highly praised upon. It's just like music to my ears. So like, man, I gotta get this game for real. But again, it's not exactly being made by the same developers, isn't it? Like, they can still screw this up. It's very, very possible. Perhaps maybe it will be technical issues, maybe some kind of glitches or something that could be could be here, right? And we're not aware of it. But also because this is still, in terms of the marketing, there's still a little ways to go until it's released, coming out at the end of March. I'm glad about that, because like, this means only more time for them to polish. And of course, if they need to delay the game, please delay the game. Like, don't just make sure you don't skip on those glitches, issues, bugs, and stuff like that. Just make sure you fix everything as the best as this game can be, and however much, hopefully, that they have time in terms of the deadline they will take. And still, afterwards, just checking out how badass Leon looks as well. Like, I like the way he has a gun on his back, because I think, man, it's been a while since I played Resident Evil 4 original, but like, it's been a very long time. I can't remember if he did carry like, bigger, like a shotgun or stuff like that on his back. I think he did, man, it's been a while. But like, basically what I'm trying to say is that I like it seeing on my character, for example, more weapons that I have, that obviously he's gonna have to have a holster, he's gonna have to put somewhere his weaponry, maybe leave it as a handle, or perhaps he could like strap it on his back. It just makes it more realistic. I like it. Just like, I'm actually watching the gameplay while recording this video as well, and I'm just like checking out the gameplay again, like for the fourth time now and counting. I like the way it's so dark, right? I like the way it's so mysterious, but also I'm not getting the vibe of like, oh man, this is scary. You know what I mean? But like, maybe it's because I already know what's going to be happening within this remake, because it's based from the original. And perhaps maybe that's why I'm not as afraid as I should be, perhaps, because like, guys, I'll be honest, I don't take horror games that well. Like, even though I can play them, and even though I play all the Resident Evil games that are recently been coming out, like for example Resident Evil 7, the Biohazard, Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 2, 3, the remakes, and yes, definitely I'm planning to get this as well. Like, even though I play those games, and yet I'm saying that I don't take particularly well of those horror aspects in the video games. For example, like Dead Space, like, I'm just like, I played Dead Space 1, and yet the original I'm talking about specifically, and yet I'm checking out and seeing the Dead Space remake, and yet I'm still not considering picking it up, because I'm still waiting for some odd reason, and yet I know for a fact sometime soon I'll definitely pick it up. It just makes no sense. My mind, my mentality, it's weird. And so yeah, obviously checking out this, I love, you know what, I have to mention this is incredible. What I loved from this gameplay is the kind of like a fort, like basically kind of fortification, if that makes sense. I forgot that there's a special name for it. You have to basically fortify, and you have to defend this area of base basically, and you can like close up the windows, move the closets and stuff like that. I like that in kind of zombie games as well. Like, you have to secure this base and stand your ground as long as possible, protect Ashley and stuff like that, and just get her out of this place. And I like it. I like this because this actually makes it feel kind of survivability. It's not like because I'm running away, but because I'm trying to survive, and yet I can feel powerful. You know what I mean? And especially when they're all already inside, and you have to traverse somehow. You have to always constantly, like as an example, multiple enemies are coming at you, and you take out the shotgun and you obliterate them in one go with one shotgun shell or stuff like that. Take out grenades, throw them at them as well, blow them up. It's just like very hectic, and I like that. Being right at their faces and basically trying to defend yourself and also trying to defend Ashley makes things far more challenging. And then it's just for the twist, for the heck of it, introduce more newer enemies in here, a lot more tougher, that they are far harder to take them down, and they're obviously they will be a big threat to you, and so you would be constantly on the edge of the seat trying to survive, trying to save Ashley and stuff like that. And I also talk about a little bit of Ashley, like I like the way that she doesn't actually have a health bar anymore, so this makes it like she cannot just die over the time or something stupid as that. I also like the way that whenever Ashley gets grabbed, you can actually go up to this and you can stab him in the face or some shit. You basically to make sure that Ashley, he lets go of Ashley and stuff like that. It's always this nice touches towards this gameplay that kind of modernized it, and I genuinely like it. I also like the way the inventory system works here. It's a lot more refined compared to Resident Evil Village, and I like this because it actually kind of gives me, how can I say, an inventory management. Now, even though this kind of does, well, it definitely does slows down the gameplay, but something about it as well that just makes it so much more appealing and organizing it. Let me get that out of the way. For example, why I feel that way is because in Death Stranding, there was a mechanic of item, management that you would need to have and to do, and it just makes it so much more special, at least for me. And I think that it's interesting mechanic, at least personally, like I said, personally for myself. Alright guys, I think I blabbered long enough, and I just wanted to have a little bit of an opinion in here. I want to sprinkle it in. Alright, like and subscribe. See you guys all, and have a wonderful day.